On a cold December morning in Lincolnshire, England, a tiny baby was born so small that his mother claimed he could fit inside a quart mug. This premature infant, who doctors thought wouldn't survive the night, would go on to become one of history's greatest scientific minds. This is the story of Isaac Newton. Young Isaac was a solitary child, born into a world of civil war and upheaval. His father had died before his birth, and when his mother remarried, 3-year-old Isaac was left in the care of his grandmother. Perhaps it was this early solitude that shaped his introspective nature and deep curiosity about the world around him. While other children played games, young Newton preferred to build mechanical devices, windmills, water clocks, and a wooden carriage he would pedal himself. He filled his notebooks with detailed drawings and spent hours observing the movement of light through his bedroom window. In 1661, Newton arrived at Cambridge University as a subsizar, essentially a servant student who waited on wealthier students to pay for his education. But fate had different plans. When the Great Plague forced the university to close in 1665, Newton returned to Woolsthorpe Manor for what would become known as his miracle years. Picture this, a 23-year-old man sitting under an apple tree in his mother's garden. While the legend of the falling apple might be somewhat embellished, Newton himself wrote about how watching fruit fall straight to the ground sparked his thinking about gravity. But this wasn't just about apples. Newton was asking fundamental questions about the universe itself. During these 2 years of isolation, Newton laid the groundwork for calculus, developed his theories of optics by experimenting with prisms in his darkened room, and began formulating the laws of motion and universal gravitation that would revolutionize our understanding of the physical world. But Newton wasn't just a physicist. Few people know that he spent more time writing about alchemy and biblical chronology than he did about science. In his locked London laboratory, he performed countless alchemical experiments, seeking to transform base metals into gold and discover the philosopher's stone. His notebooks contained coded language and secret symbols, protecting his esoteric research from prying eyes. When Newton finally published his masterwork, Principia Mathematica, in 1687, it changed science forever. Here was a unified theory explaining everything from falling apples to planetary orbits. But the road wasn't smooth. His bitter rivalry with German mathematician Gottfried Leibniz over who invented calculus would consume years of his life and divide the mathematical community. In his later years, Newton took an unexpected career turn. As warden of the Royal Mint, he approached counterfeiting with the same intensity he had applied to science. He personally interrogated suspects and spent nights in disguise in London's taverns, gathering evidence against currency criminals. Some of these investigations led to executions, a stark reminder of the harsh justice of the time. Newton was known for his peculiar habits. He would often forget to eat when absorbed in work, and sometimes rose from his bed having solved a problem, only to sit on the edge, lost in thought for hours. He rarely smiled or laughed, and when he did give lectures at Cambridge, he sometimes spoke to empty rooms, continuing regardless of whether students showed up. Despite his genius, Newton could be petty and vindictive. He engaged in fierce disputes with other scientists, particularly Robert Hooke, whom he effectively wrote out of history. He suffered a nervous breakdown in 1693, writing paranoid letters to friends and accusing them of plotting against him. Yet his influence cannot be overstated. Newton's laws of motion and gravity remained unchallenged for over 2 centuries until Einstein's theory of relativity. His work on optics revealed the nature of light and color. His mathematical innovations paved the way for modern physics and engineering. When Newton died in 1727, he was given a state funeral, an honor never before bestowed on a scientist. Alexander Pope's famous epitaph captures his achievement. Nature and nature's laws lay hid in night. God said, "Let Newton be," and all was light. Today, Newton's influence extends far beyond physics. His method of scientific inquiry, observing, hypothesizing, experimenting, and applying mathematics to understand natural phenomena, became the foundation of modern science. From the smartphones in our pockets to the spacecraft exploring our solar system, Newton's insights continue to shape our world. In Newton's own modest words, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." Yet few giants have cast such a long shadow across the centuries as Isaac Newton himself.